good morning. Today we are going to be doing two things. We're going to talk about pre-Pesach, meaning searching for Chametz, fast of the firstborn, and we'll talk about the Seder itself, some of the halachos that pertain to the Seder itself. What I'm not going to talk about is this year's unique halachos of Shabbos, falling out on Erev Pesach, this coming Shabbos afternoon between Mincha and Marav. I don't remember the exact time, but that's going to be the class, the Shabbos Hagadol Drasha. I think many shuls are having their Shabbos Hagadol Drasha a week early because, I don't know, the next Shabbos, people are going to just be anxious and not able to leave their house because they're getting in their head ready for Pesach. But again, so next Shabbos, in the afternoon, I will be talking about the halachos, the unique halachos that pertain this year when Erev Pesach falls out on Shabbos. So not going to talk about it today. Yes.
I'm sorry to just mention this now, but I noticed you're doing it in here.
Yeah, I don't know if any people. We'll see if it gets full. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Okay, we'll figure it out. There'll be no class on Sunday. I will, God willing, be on my way to Israel. So. Thank you. Okay. All right. Feel free to ask me your questions before then. Okay. Not after. Okay. So let's talk about searching for chametz. Okay. So there is an obligation to search all of your property on the night before Pesach. This year we don't do it the night before Pesach because that is Friday night. This year Bedikas Chametz takes place on Thursday night. So on Thursday night you are obligated to look through all of your property to make sure there is no chametz there. Now all your property does not only include your home because many of you own more or have, and by own, I don't necessarily mean that you own it outright. You could be renting it. It's your space. Any space that is yours must, unless you're selling that entire space, it is something which has to be searched. So for example, your car is something which is yours. So in addition to searching your home, you have to be looking through your car. In addition, if you have office space, that is yours. And if you're selling your whole office, you don't plan on going to work for all of Chol Hamoed, great. Sell your office space like our staff over here. They don't go to the office. Great. So we just close the office and we could sell it. Great. But if you plan on going to your office during Chol Hamoed, then and you don't plan on, including it in your sale, or you don't plan on including it yourself for whatever reason, then you have to search that as well. When do you search that? Really, ideally that night, right? Really, ideally you should be searching your office space on the night of Pesach. Sometimes that's not so practical based on location. So the next best thing is to search it any night leading up, the last night before. Let's say, Thursday night you're too busy, Thursday night's too far. Let's say your office space is in Owings Mills and it's going to be too far and it's Thursday night and you're, cooking, whatever it is. So you could search on Wednesday night. Ideally you want to search at night. If you're unable to search at night for whatever reason, then the last time you are in that office before Pesach, you should look around to make sure there is no chametz. Yes?
Taking that to cars,
Are
you saying we should be looking in our cars, Bedikas Chametz?
Yep.
I mean, if you've done it already.
You've done it already. You've done your whole house already, right? So again, it shouldn't be an incredibly long search, but the same way you search your house, right? The idea of the search is that anything that belongs to you, you're supposed to be searching. So when you finish, right, and it's a little hard, it's dark, but when I finish my house, I go to my van and then I go to my car and then I come to the shul. Yeah, it's your property, it's yours, and it's a place where chametz could be. So you're supposed to be looking. Yes?
Okay, so when you're talking this all today, could you also, for those of us who have to go away, or want to go away, whatever, what do we do?
Good. So for you and for me, we will do our Bedika the night before we leave. Okay, so I am going to be leaving April 6th, Sunday. So Matzah Shabbos, I will be doing Bedikas Chametz that night.
But on what?
On whatever property. So like this.
But I'm not going to be there.
You're not gonna be.
I'm going to Houston.
Great. So you could do one of two things. Let's talk about that quickly. So basically, in a scenario a person is not going to be in their house, you could simply put on your documents, I am going to sell chametz in my entire house, and by the and my cars, right? Everything that is mine, I'm selling my chametz in my office space, in my house, in my cars. Done. You don't have to do any bedika. There's no obligation to bedika because you don't have any property that is to be searched at that point because you're selling the chametz in all those places. Sorry?
Non-Jew stay there.
Well, then it's yours still. So then you do have to bedikas, right? So if you're selling the house,
the whole house, the kitchen.
Okay, so let's again. So a regular person who is a person, not regular. Sorry, it's called a person. So if you are going to be home, over Pesach, so what you have to do is on the night before Pesach, you have to search every place that is yours, ideally on that night. So basically, Bedikas Chametz night, on Thursday night this year, usually it'd be the night before Pesach. This year it's 2 nights before Thursday night. You say the bracha, you go through the house, and you look for Chametz anywhere. Again, you've already been cleaning, so hopefully it shouldn't take too long. And again, we're not looking for crumbs, right? If you're looking for crumbs, forget about it, right? You're looking for chametz, looking for substantive pieces of chametz, and you go through all the places that are yours, your office space, your car space, all those spaces. If you're unable to do it on that night, you do it the night before. Fine. You do it the last night you're there, and if you're unable to do it at night, you do it the day before the last time you are there. Done. That's for a person who is here. Let's say you are going away for Yom Tov. And so you have one of two options. Let's pretend no one's staying in your house first. You have one of two options. So one is you could go ahead and just say right in your document of your chametz sale, I am selling chametz that's found everywhere in the house, because you're selling anywhere that chametz is found is being sold. And once that happens, then basically you've effectively sold your whole house, because anywhere the chametz is found, that space is also sold with it or rented out with it, to be more accurate. And therefore, you don't do any bedika. However, many say you should ideally do some bedika. So what I recommend to people who are not renting their house out is that leave one space, let's say the front of your house, like whether it's like the corridor or like a little living space, whatever it is, clean that space, and then in your documents you write chametz that's found everywhere except for that opening area. Let's say it's a vestibule, or it's a little living room, or whatever it is, And then the night before Pesach, go around and and do Bedikas Chametz the night before the last night you're there. Okay, you'll do Bedikas Chametz at that point for that area alone. Right, with me? In other words, let's say you're leaving for Pesach. So I tell a person, take the opening area of your house, make sure that place is clean. Okay, you do a space which is like by an entrance, which is not going to drive you crazy, a place that should take a few minutes to clean, and that way you could fulfill I'm not going to say full-fledged mitzvah, but a mitzvah of doing bedikas. We'll get to the 10 pieces of bread in a moment. But the bottom line is you would do a bedika around there the night before Pesach. Done. Now, if you're renting your house out, then it's your responsibility to make sure your house is clean.
I'm actually paying someone, it's a cat sitter. So.
Same thing. So basically, it's your house. So you have a full-fledged obligation. So anywhere that they are going to have access to, then that place has to be cleaned, because it's yours. So if you close off, so again, if I'm, let's say, letting someone use my house when I'm gone. So any area it's a little quick. Depends on the scenario, but certainly if you're paying someone or you're letting someone use it, then it's really your obligation to clean any space that they're going to be accessing, even if they're not Jewish, because it's your house, and and basically you have to sell the chametz that belongs to you. So therefore you'd want to clean any area they have access to. I'm assuming they're not going to be able to walk freely. I don't know, whatever it is, but if whatever area they're able to walk in, especially you're giving it to them, they're not renting it from you. It's therefore your responsibility. You have to make sure those areas are clean from chametz. And again, chametz means cookies. You don't have to worry about the crumbs. Not spring cleaning. That's what you have to do.
You said you're actually renting the area that the chametz is in.
Mm-hmm.
It means they can't use my refrigerator because I've sold it.
It's tricky. You should put the chametz that
like back from me.
No, that's tricky because you're selling it to different Jews. So if you're if you're in this scenario, what you would do is you'd want to move your chametz to one side, and leave this person to have their own place. So it's a separate part of the fridge. It doesn't need the whole fridge, just wherever it is. So those shelves, give the guy one shelf. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, good. Now, important caveat, and that is that the only time you make the bracha on Bedikas Chametz is if you do it the night before, right? So in a scenario, if you're all home for Pesach, so normally be the night before Pesach. This year, again, it's going to be Thursday nights because we don't do it on the night of on Friday nights, but you would make the bracha on Thursday night. If you're doing Bedikas Chametz, so again, myself, I'm doing Bedikas Chametz on this coming Matza Shabbos, I will do Bedikas Chametz. I'm fully obligated to do Bedikas Chametz. I do not make a bracha because it's only for the night before. Yes.
We say the bracha even though we're doing it on Thursday?
You do say the bracha even though it's Thursday because that's the obligatory night. Yes.
What if we're leaving before it's fully dark?
So as long as it's before it's fully dark, you would not say a bracha. You would do it the night before. You do it Wednesday night this year. If you're leaving at 6 o'clock, you would do the Bedikas Chametz Wednesday night without a bracha. Yeah. Yes.
So in my shop, I'm not going to be there. Tuesday is going to be the last day I'm there, and I can do the Bedikas Chametz, but I don't have to make a bracha.
Correct. Exactly. So you would just make sure not all the chametz is out, or if there's chametz that you're selling, it's all closed off in the staff fridge, whatever, in your fridge, and then put that in your document to make sure that it's included. If there is chametz, it's included in the sale. Yes.
When do you burn the chametz?
When do you burn the chametz? We'll get to the burn the chametz. The short answer is Friday. We'll get to that in a minute. So one other important, just a detail, and that is that they sell. Different organizations. You'll get in the mail. Like sometimes you get a credit card in the mail. You're like, what is this? So sometimes you get in the mail like the feather, the spoon, and the candle. Okay, it's all nice. And basically, what is the feather, the spoon, the candle? It is not like halacha l'Moshe misina that this came from Moses. A spoon. Your spoon was your dustbin back in the day. Your feather was your broom back in the day, and your candle was your flashlight back in the day. There is no obligation whatsoever to walk around with a feather and a spoon and a candle, okay? I have not walked around with a feather and spoon and candle probably in my life, okay? What you do have is this wonderful thing called a phone, which has, most of your phones should have a light on the back, and it's a really good flashlight. Use your flashlight. You do not have to use a candle. There's no obligation to use a candle. You certainly do not have to use a feather. You could, by all means, if that makes you happy, do it. But the point is that there's no obligation to use those things. That's it. Okay, just want to put that out there, okay? You can use a flashlight. It's far more effective, in my humble opinion. Yeah. And safer, yes.
If you do Bedikas chametz Thursday night, how lit? The reason I'm asking is my son and daughter-in-law are coming in very likely Thursday night. They're going to come in probably after midnight.
Got it.
Is there any criteria?
Good question. Any time at night is totally fine. Anytime at night is totally fine. Okay, so here's the deal. One more thing about Bedikas chametz, and that is the 10 pieces of bread that people put around. What's that all about? What that is as follows. By the time the night before Pesach comes around, most of our homes are fairly clean for Pesach at that point, right? Not every home, and that's okay too. But most homes are pretty clean for Pesach at that point. And you're about to say a bracha for looking for chametz. And the challenge is, your house is really clean for Pesach. So how much chametz are you really going to be finding? You almost know, what do you mean? I was just in my room yesterday, scrubbing, and I know there's no chametz there. So are you really, we want to make sure, so there is a concern. We're very sensitive about saying brachos for no reason. And therefore we want to make sure, as an added, safety net, we'll make sure that there's some chametz that's going to be found. And for that reason, what we do is if a person is in a home where there is more than one person, again, because if there was one person and you go hide the pieces of chametz, and now I'll be the first to admit I will oftentimes forget, things very easily. So it's possible that that's okay, but really it doesn't make any sense because you know exactly where they are, right? So really what this is that someone else in the household, right? So the kids do it sometimes, whatever it is, they'll hide them. Then you said the bracha, and then since I said the bracha, at least I have some chametz that I'm definitely going to be finding some chametz. Okay. The bottom line is though, this is like an extra safety net. Let's say you live alone in your home and there's no one else to hide the chametz. Don't hide the chametz, because that makes no sense. But what you could do and should do is you should still say bracha, because it's only an extra caution. You don't otherwise have to do it, okay? Similarly, I would point out that if you're doing Bedikas chametz on Wednesday night or any time before Pesach, you don't hide the pieces of bread. Some say mystically you should still do it, but bottom line is the custom is not to hide. I think normative custom is not to hide the bread. If you're doing Bedikas chametz on Wednesday night this year, don't hide the bread, because the whole thing is I'm saying a bracha, I need to find something. So you're not saying a bracha on Wednesday night, right? I'm not going to say a bracha on Matzah Shabbos. So it's only because you're saying a bracha that you should hide it. So again, two important pieces we're inferring from here. One is, if you're living alone, still say the bracha. Don't hide the bread. Still say the bracha, because you do have an obligation for Bedikas chametz. Okay? If you are leaving, if you're going to be doing Bedikas chametz anytime before the actual night where you say the bracha, meaning the night before, or this year 2 nights before, you do not have to hide pieces of bread. Okay? Let's say a person hides pieces of bread. So good suggestion, write down where you hide the bread. Okay, sometimes my kids will hide it and then they'll go to sleep. I'm like, oh, what? Okay, so same with afikomen. Okay, so bottom line is for both the bread and afikomen, if you hid the bread and you don't know where it is, bottom line is just move on. You're good. Bottom line is you did bittul. Bottom line is, as much as it's you can find it out, probably it's not findable. We can worry about what happens when you find it during Pesach. It's fine. Bottom line is, if you looked, you don't have to drive yourself crazy. Leave it alone. Done. Okay? Yes. Okay. Okay, fine. What else? Bedikas chametz. Okay, that's a Bedikas chametz. Any questions on Bedikas chametz? Look, maybe?
I have a question about eating challah on Friday night and or Saturday.
Come to the Shabbos Gadol Drush this coming Shabbos. I'm not going to talk about it. Sorry. But the short thing I will say over here is that by the time you start Shabbos, you should have there's going to be a sale of your chametz on Friday morning. Okay, so what that means is as follows: if you've asked someone to sell your chametz for you, which I imagine most of you are doing, then that means by Friday at midday, your chametz that is in your cupboards is already going to be sold. Okay, so all the chametz that you've designated for the sale is going to be sold. It's not yours. If you take that chametz, you're stealing on Pesach. Okay, you're stealing on Erev Pesach. Don't take that chametz. The chametz you've set aside for sale is done. Okay, what you should do is, and we'll get into more detail again next Shabbos, is you leave some bread that you're going to want to use on Friday nights and maybe Shabbos day, you leave that aside, not with the rest of the chametz that you're putting in the sale, right? Because in my house, I'll use my house as an example. We have our cupboards that we put all our chametz in, right? So in that cupboard, I would not put my rolls that I'm going to be using this year on Friday night and Shabbos morning in that cupboard, because I said all the chametz that's found in the cupboard is going to be sold to Mr. Bob, the policeman we sell it to. I think that's his name. The point is that he's going to own my bread. What am I going to do on Shabbos morning? Am I going to take it? I can't do that. So what I do is that all my chametz, it's in those places. That's what you write. Where the chametz is being sold, where the chametz is. It's in my cupboards. It's in my this place, in my that place. Fine. There. And then I put a separate place where the rolls that I'm going to be eating on Shabbos are set aside. Okay? Yes.
After you burn the chametz,
Yeah.
can you still eat a roll?
You could still eat this year. Again, it's very confusing. Normally, the answer is absolutely not, because normally on, let's say, Pesach would fall out on Wednesday night. So Wednesday morning at 10:38 is the last time you could eat chametz. And then at 11:42, I'm making up times, you have to burn the chametz. So you have to stop eating chametz at 10:38, whatever time I said. This year, you're burning the chametz early, right? You're burning the chametz early because really the prohibition against eating chametz only kicks in Shabbos morning, right? So the answer is yes, you can eat the chametz till Shabbos morning at this year. I don't remember the time offhand.
But it's a big problem with the crumbs and everything.
Okay, so we have to.
Isn't it better to have egg matzah?
Okay, so we're going to have to talk about that. We're going to talk about that on Shabbos. What's the better thing to do? Some people do eat egg matzah. Some people don't eat egg matzah. We'll talk again this coming Shabbos.
But it isn't Pesach yet.
Exactly. So you could eat bread. And many people say it's ideal to eat bread. Go to your porch, go to your front. But we'll talk about it in more detail. But you're right. The short answer is that you are allowed to eat chametz until Shabbos morning at 10 something or whatever. Yes.
And what about brushing your teeth from the chametz that you've eaten?
You don't have to really. So you don't really have to brush your teeth after you eat chametz. It's not.
No? Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. Or have a drink. You don't have to brush your teeth. Guess what? I know it's surprising. They didn't have toothbrushes back in the day, so they didn't cross their minds. Yes.
So what would be an appropriate way to, so like we live in a condo.
Yeah.
So, is it in the trash can? Do you have to take it out of the building?
You're all killing me. You're trying to get me to talk about this. This is a trick. This is a scam. We'll talk about it on Shabbos. I'm sorry. I'm just messing with you. But yes, these are all good questions. I know we're all stressed about it because it is a unique time. Normally, of course, on Erev Pesach, we'll go and we'll take it to, some place where we get rid of it. This year, it's a little complicated. We're not going to get into those details until Shabbos afternoon. I apologize. This coming Shabbos. Yes.
Will you also send out something in writing?
Some form of writing. Some short form of writing.
If we're here on Shabbos,
We forget things,
yes,
myself
old
included.
And
And don't remember where we hit the chametz. I get it. Yes.
So how often does something like this occur in the?
I have no idea. It's not happening for another bunch of years. I think like 10 more years, something.
Not like 19 years or something?
No, not again for like another 30. Like,
You're good. Yeah. Don't ask me these questions. Okay, let's talk about the fast of the
Can
firstborn.
we talk about burning it?
Yeah, burn it before 12:02 on Friday morning.
Okay, no, I'm doing.
Just burn it there. Take
Friday
it with you.
night, so I have to take my chametz with me?
Take it with you so you have the opportunity to burn your own chametz. You don't have to. In other words, you could get rid of. So again, if you're there is a mitzvah of bir chametz, of burning chametz, right? So you don't have to. So let's say
Do
you.
I own that chametz?
So you don't have to schlep chametz to Houston, right? What you could do is on Thursday night, Friday morning, go to 7-Eleven, buy yourself a Danish, whatever, and then go burn it. There's a mitzvah to burn chametz. You don't have to take that chametz that you.
But I could.
You could. I don't know. Just make sure it's double bagged. Okay. Fine. Let's try to figure out how we're gonna do this. Okay. Bottom line is like women's class, so we don't have to get into this, but there is a minhag that males fast. Firstborn males fast on Erev Pesach. This year it's not on Friday. This year it's on Thursday. We're not going to get into all the halachos because it's not so relevant. Okay.
that he saw.
Yes, we are very loose on our definition of a firstborn. It doesn't matter if it is if it was after a miscarriage. Doesn't matter anyone who would be considered a firstborn in the broadest sense. Firstborn male would fast. There's a beautiful. I'll just mention very quickly. It's a beautiful idea. The simple understanding is that since the firstborns died in Egypt on that night, so they fast as like a way of reminding that their lives were saved. Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky has such a beautiful idea. He says no. He says the reason behind it is Erev Pesach in Jerusalem, Yerushalayim, was this like magical day. Like all of Israel flocked, so all of the Jewish people flocked to Yerushalayim, and they actually have, I forgot where someone shared this with me. There's like a Roman like soldier, not like a higher up, not a soldier, but like someone in the military who writes a depiction. Centurion, thank you. Who writes a description of witnessing what takes place on Erev Pesach, and it's like this magnificent description of all the Jews gathering together in the Azara in the courtyard, and then they let them in the first group, and then they're all slaughtering their Korban Pesach, and the Kohanim are moving everything so quickly, and it's just like a sea of people and gold and silver, of the beautiful, majestic, and who are the like, so everyone's there, and who are the most important people that day? The Kohanim. There's no day more, right? So the Kohanim are the ones who are slaughtering and moving everything around. They're the ones who are leading the way. All the Kohanim are activated on Erev Pesach. And so there's one day that you really feel the grandeur of the Kohanim, and that is on Erev Pesach. And who in the back of their mind is thinking, oh, that could have been me? The firstborn. Because we have a tradition that had the Jewish people not sit in the golden calf, for whatever reason, we're not going to get into right now, then it would have been the firstborns who would have been the priests. There would not be a Kohen, cast. There would have just been the firstborns of each family. And so specifically on Erev Pesach, the firstborn are feeling a sense of anguish, a sense of this could have been me, a reflection of because our ancestors messed up, that's why we are not there and we're here and we're not doing what the Kohanim are doing, and therefore they're fasting not because of what took place that night, but rather what took place every year on Erev Pesach, which is a beautiful thought. And he points out, following through, how do we get out of the fast? If a person attends a siyum, if a person attends where someone completes a tractate of Gemara or something of that nature, then that allows them to no longer fast. And the idea being that we're trying to give some chizuk, some strength to the firstborn. He says, yeah, your ancestors messed up. Our ancestors messed up, and that's why you've lost that right. But it doesn't mean it's done with. You could still attain great heights through the medium called Talmud Torah, through the medium called studying Torah, and that's why we study. That's why once they participate in a siyum, that counters the fast they're supposed to have, and they're now allowed to eat. Beautiful idea. Okay, let's go further. Fine, let's talk. Yes. This year it's going. Thank you. Did I not say that? I didn't say that. This year it's Thursday, not on Friday. This year it is Thursday, not Friday. Fine, because we wouldn't be able to. If a firstborn missed the fast, they would have to fast the whole day, and it would go into Shabbos. We don't do fast going into Shabbos, with a few exceptions, and therefore we move it a day back to Thursday. Okay, so this year, if you have a firstborn in your family, they should attend shul. They should always attend shul, but they should attend shul specifically to make sure they get a siyum on the morning of Thursday morning. Good? Okay. Let's talk about the things that take place in the Seder, and that is as follows. Okay, there are a few mitzvos on Seder nights. One is the arba kosos, the 4 cups of wine. Ideally, so the idea behind these cups of wine is it demonstrates our freedom, and so this is a rabbinic mitzvah of drinking 4 cups of wine, obligated to both men and women. Ideally, we should be drinking good wine. Some people have a hard time drinking wine, certainly heavy wine. 4 cups of heavy wine might be too much. That's okay. You could drink lighter wine, like Moscato d'Asti, which works for many, but some people won't work. A person diabetic, a person can't have too much sugar, whatever it is. Then you could also have like light grape juice works as well. Okay, if you can't have those, let's talk. But those would be like your hierarchy of like good wine, light wine, and then grape juice. Yes.
Does getting migraines count as a reason to not?
Yes, absolutely. Anytime it's going to cause discomfort would certainly be included. Yes.
Isn't there an Indian of it not being mabushal?
There is,
Ideal.
There is an ideal, but I'm not going to say it's obligatory. A person could have mavushal wine. So, yeah. Okay, a couple of important halachos about the wine. First of all, the cup. The cup should be at least 3 ounces. Okay? The cup should be at least 3 ounces. It's revius. And here's the important thing. You're supposed to ideally drink the entire cup. If you can't drink the entire cup, you should drink the majority of the cup. Okay? Now, this is very important because my bar mitzvah is Pesach time. My birthday is Pesach time. Happy birthday, Kevin. And the point is that, what did I get? Of course, a billion bechers, a billion cups. And they're all huge. And I'm like, wow, they're so nice. They're so beautiful. So when I was 13, I was drinking grape juice. Fine. I'll drink a whole cup of grape juice and I'll be like wired and sugar high. That's fine. But if you're drinking wine, right, or you're drinking something you're not going to want to like just gulp down, you don't want to have a big cup. Because the idea is you're supposed to drink the entire cup or at least a majority of the cup. It's actually better to have a smaller cup. It's better to have a smaller cup because that will enable you to drink, either the whole thing or the majority. But if you have a big cup, it looks very nice. Save it for Eliyahu. You don't have to have the one drinking that big cup because it's going to get you into a challenge, right? So, fine. 3 ounces, drink the entire thing. If that's difficult, one should drink the majority of the cup. It's customary, not obligatory. It's customary for other people, if there's other people at your Seder, for other people to pour the cup for you. It's not obligatory. If it's a pain, I will tell you myself, once in a while, I don't know, everyone's running around, everyone's doing their thing. I'm just pouring myself my own cups. The idea is supposed to be feel regal. If feeling regal is yelling at your child to come over and let it fill your cup, that's not regal, that's silly. So fill up your own cup if it's going to be stressful. It's a custom. Okay, matzah. There's an obligation to eat matzah 3 times during the Seder, bless you. Those are motzi matzah. There is korach, that is the sandwich, and there is the afikomen, the amount of matzah to be eaten. So here's very interesting. I really recently noticed that Star K switched their measurements on me. Okay? Yeah. I've been the guy telling everyone all the leniencies, but because I was basing on Star K. So Star K initially would say that when it comes to motzi, matzah, and afikomen, you could do a third of a handmade matzah, like a round matzah. They've switched it, bless you, to a half. They switched it to a half. I don't know when that happened. I don't know why that happened. I didn't have a chance to ask anyone there. But on the newer things, they've switched it to a half a matzah for each of those sections. If it is hard for a person to eat a half, I don't mean you're going to be like, anytime it's very hard for a person, eating a third is certainly okay, right? So certainly when we have, and I'm not even talking about people who are like diabetic, bless you, who have like their own, limitations. We could talk about that. I'll just say it now quickly. I'm going to, speak to me personally, because obviously it depends like how much a person's able to eat. But bottom line is, if a person really, really is restricted, then, we could talk about it, right? Meaning there are people who they could only have a certain amount of carbs or whatever it is, medically it's going to cause them massive issues to have a significant amount, even a quarter, even then talk to me offline, we could have a conversation. But for a regular person, ideally, for the first and last time, right, when we say the bracha on the motzi and we say the bracha on the matzah, you should eat, based on Star K's upgraded versions, a half a matzah for each one of those, okay? A half matzah for each one of those. And the middle one, which is the sandwich, that's the least obligatory. It's the most, and that's really a custom. There you could have really even up as small as a quarter of a matzah. A quarter of a handmade matzah. If you have a hard time eating a half, you could definitely eat a third for the first and the third. By hard time, I don't mean you're going to get ill. I mean it's very hard for you. You have a bad stomach. It's going to be a little troubling. Whatever it is, eating a third is certainly sufficient as well. Yes.
Is there a criteria for the size of a round knot?
It's a good question, and that's probably part of the issue is that probably the sizes starts to vary so much, but you'll find them more or less having a standard size, and I think that's where they get away with these measurements. In other words, they have these people have made these different sheets that you could use. There are measurements. The problem is the density. It's very complicated. So these are loose. When I say like a half, these are loose measurements because there's so many factors, right? Shatzer matzah is very thin. This one's very thick. It's very difficult, and therefore these measurements are given to be broad. The idea is to have 2 kezesim, two measurements of eggs. There's so many factors defining how you measure that, and in each individual matzah, and and no one's going to sit there and go through this matzah is this much, this much, this much, and therefore these are general guidelines. Good. Fine. Let's continue with. I was talking about all hand matzah. With machine matzahs, it's gonna there interestingly the Star K did not change the measurement. So again, it must be something about the hand matzah. For hand matzahs, the first time you eat matzah and the last time you eat matzah, you should eat a half a matzah. Okay, and the middle one a third. Okay, so again, when you say amotzi lechem min haaretz matzah, if you're eating machine matzahs, eat a half of it, and for afikomen, eat a half of one of those, and the middle one you eat a third. Just little pro tip, as my kids like to call it, but a little trick. If you have a lot of people at your Seder, instead of going around and making the brachas, then dividing each person, what you could and should do, I'll tell you what I do, is in my house, is that I go ahead before on Erev Pesach, and I apportion each person's measurements of matzah. So each person gets a big bag, and in that big bag is 3 separate bags, and it sounds a little neurotic, but it actually makes our Seder go a lot faster. And in those bags, you have one little bag which says M, which is for motzi matzah. And in there, they have the precise measurements that they're going to need for motzi matzah, and they have a one that says K for korach, and they have one that has A for afikomen, and each one has the measurements, so I've pre-assigned it. Now, there is one detail, and that is that when I make hamotzi, It's on Lecha Mishnah. Okay, it's on 2 full pieces of matzah, right? Just like on Shabbos, the whoever's leading the seder, the meal, you make the hamotzi. You're supposed to have some bread or some matzah from that. So what I do is everyone has their portion. You still with me? Everyone has their little bags, and I make hamotzi, and I say the brachas, and then I break up that matzah that I made the hamotzi on, and everyone gets a tiny piece that they add to their portion, and that way they got their lechem mishnah, they got their double bread, and things I've just saved at least 15 minutes of my seder. Okay, life is good. Fine, good?
You've taken it away from your prep time.
Yeah, but it's Friday, so yeah, it's okay. And I want to be clear, by the way, you can't do that this year on Erev. You have to do this on Friday, right? Because, very important caveat, you are not allowed to be preparing on Shabbos for Yom Tov, right? You can't do that. So this year, if you were to be doing that, you'd be doing this on Friday for Saturday night, right? Good. Friday, hopefully it gets nice and boring. It's very quiet Erev Pesach. Okay, fine. Okay, I do that while I'm taking calls. That's the truth. I'm doing that as the calls come in on Erev Pesach. Anyway, fine. Okay, when you are drinking the wine and you are eating the matzah, it is obligatory to recline. Okay, so I've said this every time. I'll say it again. Reclining means you recline to the left. This is ridiculously uncomfortable, right? If you were to just go like this, you feel stupid. Sorry, excuse me. This is just like not reclining. This is being awkward, right? I don't know. It's like, it's a nice stretch, but I don't want to be eating matzah or doing something like this. So really what you could and should do, is basically turn your chair a little bit to the side. You don't need a pillow. Turn your chair, and now this is a lot more comfortable. The idea is reclining. Reclining is like you're supposed to be like comfortable, leaning on something. So you shift your chair a little bit to the left, and then you go like this, and this is reclining as opposed to this, which is just being suspended in the air. Okay, fine. You're supposed to eat the matzah in ideally 2 minutes. Each portion of that matzah, ideally 2 minutes, up to 4 minutes. If that's too hard, there are longer measurements of time as well.
Did you just say 2?
Yeah, there's an ideal 2 minutes. 4 minutes is fine. 4 minutes is fine. 4 minutes is fine. Just 4 minutes. 4 minutes is fine.
I thought I heard a lot more.
So there are different opinions. There are many different opinions of what's achilas pras. Okay, so sorry, you can go as long as 9 minutes. You go as long as 9 minutes. Okay. 4 minutes is fine. 4 minutes is fine. We'll do the Goldilocks. 4 minutes is fine. 2 minutes is many people push to do 2 minutes. They certainly go up to 9 minutes is also achilas pras according to many. We use that for fine. Okay, maror. There are 2 times during the seder we eat maror. You're supposed to eat 1 ounce of maror, it could be doesn't have to be with the bitter stuff. It can be done with lettuce, basically it's just an ounce worth. So if you want to have like lettuce, it's not they say like 1 stalk of lettuce.
Big one.
A big one. Yeah. Well, it could be just the stalk itself would be usually more than an ounce. I don't know. Figure it out. Basically, like stalks. 2 little stalks. I think should be.
Hearts, when they sell the hearts, like
The hearts are like the stalks.
yeah.
Mine was an index card of just the stocks,
An index card.
like a 5 4 by 8 or something.
Squish it up. See if it fits like an ounce. Yeah, they say, I don't know, like 1 big leaf is certainly an ounce, is certainly an ounce. If you're just using stalks, like 2 stalks is certainly an ounce. Okay, you do not lean when you're eating maror. Okay, one other last piece we'll just mention here because we're already over time. Kitnios, we're not going to get into a whole discussion about kitnios. Kitnios, what they are, but you can look up the list. What kitnios, it is an Ashkenazic custom, universal Ashkenazic custom. Outside of, in Israel, there's been like this big trend of people trying to like be done with not eating kitnios, but it is a normative Ashkenazi custom, and I don't think we have the right to undo it. 2 important things. One is you do not need to sell kitnios. Okay, so for example, let's say oftentimes like pet food will have kitnios. That's totally fine. You're allowed to have it. You're allowed to benefit from it. You can't eat it, right? So you're allowed to eat it. You're allowed to benefit from it. You could keep your mustard, which is kitnios, in your fridge. Okay, you might want to put it on the side so you don't end up mistakenly using it. And they do have this like weird alternative now, which is okay. Of non-kitnios mustard for Pesach. Yeah, don't try it. It's not good. What's it called? But the point is that you don't have to sell it. You don't have to get rid of it. You could use it. You could handle it. It doesn't have to be part of the sale. And an important thing, there's a big discussion, big debate about eating at a Sephardi person's house. You can eat kitnios just because you're at their house. Can you use their dishes? Big debate. There's certainly what's rely upon to simply eat off of their dishes. So if you're invited to your Sephardic friend for a meal on Pesach and they've been eating kitnios, you can't have the rice that they're eating, but you could eat off of their dishes. According to many, not everyone, this is a matter of debate, but according to some, you are allowed to eat off of their dishes and you could be a guest there and that would be totally fine. Again, for those who want to learn about the unique halachos of Shabbos Erev Pesach, I'll see you all Shabbos afternoon. I will have some form of notes that I'll be able to share. Dumen Chamarev, 7 something. I don't know exactly. And it's going to go till the end of Shabbos.
I'll post it on the WhatsApp.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, Chag Kosher V'Sameach. Thank you all. Thank you for your flexibility of time.